Alright, this is going to be a fairly quick take on the Vortex Razor UHD 10x50 binocular that I have been using, gosh, about a year now, maybe a little bit less. And before that I was using the 10x42, then I switched to the 10x50. And honestly, no regrets, I really like this one. The reason why this is not going to be a very long review is that there isn't really anything particularly negative to say. With binoculars, the thing is, so I have a lot of mileage with this very, very fancy stuff and Leicas and Swarovski and all that sort of stuff, and I really like them, especially the Leica. Swarovski don't agree with my eyes as well. They're technically spectacular. Between Swarovski, Zeiss, and Leica on a very high end, I slightly prefer Leica. What I don't like is how much you have to pay for those. With binoculars in general, what I found is that there is this performance level where I know there is stuff out there that's better, but I'm not hugely motivated to look for it because what I have works well enough where I'm not necessarily looking for more performance. And the Razor UHD binocular for me seems to be roughly the quality where it's at. Welcome to my channel. I'm the Dark Lord of Optics, and what I bring you here is a thinking man's take on guns and optics with occasional forays into politics. Thank you for being here. So Vortex makes a Razor HD high definition or whatever, and UHD ultra high definition. I assume that's what it means. I'm not entirely sure. And the basic difference between these, the HDs are made in China, and the UHDs are made in Japan. I'm moderately certain they're made by the same OEM that's been working with Vortex and a lot of different stuff. But that OEM has a factory in China, a factory in Japan. In terms of build quality, etc., I'm not convinced there is a difference. What is different with UHDs, if you look at them, let me get this thing off the tripod. There you go. If you look at them carefully, you'll notice that they're fairly long. And the reason why they are long is they have the Ebb-Koenig prisms that originally Zeiss has been using with great success. The shorter barrel binoculars usually have the SP Schmidt-Peschan prisms. These are Ebb-Koenig. Ebb-Koenig's ones generally have a little bit more light transmission. There are a couple other advantages, but they make for longer barrels. And longer barrels is one of the things that in a binocular of this type I actually like. And what happens is, historically, I've always been a proponent of low magnification binoculars, and if I had to pick one general purpose binocular for a little bit of everything, I'd probably go with 7 or 8 power. But I live out west, I hunt out west. I was just exploring the canyon that you see a little bit of behind me, and the distances here are significant. And I kind of have to pick a binocular that will be used a good bit off of the tripod, but that will also be very, very usable for me handheld. And the way my hands are, 12 or 15, I have 12 and 15 power binocular. Well, yeah, I do. I can't really use them handheld very well, unfortunately. What I can use handheld still adequately well is the 10x50s, but with a 10 power, between 10x50 and 10x42, I clearly prefer 10x50, partly because of the little bit of extra stability I get with a larger exit pupil, partly because of the weight. So the slightly heavier binocular helps you handhold it more steadily. What also helps you handhold it a little bit more steadily is the length of the barrels. If you look at these, the way they're shaped, they fit my hand very well. And the way I use them, I have one hand that is right on the focus wheel. The other hand I hold a little bit further forward. And I use this together with the eye cups. Yeah, there you go. Together with the eye cups to use them to anchor them on my eyebrows, on my eye sockets, essentially. Having one hand further out allows me, having one hand further out allows me a little bit of extra stability. And the reason is that there's always a little bit of tremor. And the way I'm sort of built, I'm kind of a big guy. I just put my elbow on my stomach, and this is fairly supportive. Whatever tremor I have when it's further out, it's a smaller angular change than if it is right here. Right, so this is pretty much how I use them. And 10x50, still no mule deer, for fuck's sake. And 10x50, I can hold adequately well. And I had for a little while, I had the 10x50 and 10x42 Razor UHDs, so both very, very nice binoculars. And I spent some time messing with them. I can clearly hold 10x50 a little bit better. I can clearly see the difference in low light, in the earliest light, on the latest light. Just a little bit more exit pupil seems to help. And a little bit of extra weight in the grand scheme of things, I don't mind. It sits in a chest rig. It's pretty comfortable. Don't really have any real complaints. The focus wheel is nice and smooth. Is it as nice as the higher end stuff? Honestly, probably. Maybe not. If it's not, I can't tell the difference. And Lord knows I tried. Everything is smooth. The focus speed is just right. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. At least by my standards, I've seen faster and slower focusing speeds. I tend to prefer slower focusing speeds, but this one is just right for me. The eye cups have several settings, all in 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. I've been out here for a few days. I think I got some sand or something in. I can feel a slight amount of grittiness, but also just looking at them, everything is dirty and covered with crap. So when I get home, I'll blow it all off and I'll manage. I'll clean it. Looking into the objectives, everything is machined well. I see very, very nicely done baffling, and honestly, flare control on these is quite good. I spent some time trying to spot game, essentially looking into the rising sun. Not ideal. I'd prefer the sun to be behind me, but you don't always get to choose which way the mountain sits. No real issues. Everything worked well. Looking at the eyepieces, right? If you look at the eyepieces are fairly large diameter. I don't know what the smallest interpupillar IP distance you can get them to. I'll pull up the specs, but it's not bad. It's manageable. My kids, who are much smaller than I am, obviously are able to use it without any real issues. The shape of the binocular is kind of interesting. Although it's 50mm objectives, they kept the barrels fairly slim, and for me that makes a big difference. I do not exactly have huge hands. I have fairly average size hands, so the way it's sloped out but still kept fairly trim really works well for me. Right, I have a good grip on the binocular. I can reach the focus knob. Right, just a well thought out design. The eye adjustment is in the right barrel. Pretty straightforward. It's nicely stiff since I adjusted it. It has not moved. There's also a little scale here that shows you where you are, so I recorded my setting. If I ever need to adapt it for somebody else, I can easily go back to my original setting. Okay. Aside from that, it's not much really to say. The rubber armoring has been holding up well despite some fairly uncivilized treatment, but so far so good. Can't really complain, and optical quality has not really diminished. I have not scratched them up, although they are dirty, but seems to work pretty nicely. Once again, in terms of image quality, resolution is excellent, contrast is very good. If I find a really, really particularly high contrast situation and really focus, I can see a very slight amount of purple fringing, I think. Let's look in there. But I have to really focus. Yeah, there's a very slight amount of fringing. I'm looking at the skyline, but I don't know. In these conditions, I think pretty much everything will show you a little bit of fringing. Is it there? Yeah. Is it apparent if you just look? No. Can you find it if you're looking for it? Yes. The fringing is the fringing significant? No. Like I said, you really have to look for it. What I really like with these is flare control, right? I'm just looking essentially into the rising sun. There's very, very little contrast loss, if any at all. Okay. Close focus. Let's see how close can I focus. I actually didn't look at the specs before I started doing this, which is unusual for me. All right, can I focus? All right, I will say that I can focus closer than... Okay, I can focus, I don't know, probably 6-7 foot, something like that. Hard to say for sure, but it definitely focuses nicely. Okay, aside from that, there isn't really much to say. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening. If you get a chance to try this binocular, let me know what you think.